Hello and welcome to another episode of A Simple Path to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Paul Garrigan. So today's episode, I want to go back to something we discussed in the very first episode where I described well-being, and I described the different elements of what I mean by well-being. And I said that there was this wonder, intimacy and trust. And what I want to do today is to go back and start to unpackage what I mean by wonder. And we look at the other two in following episodes. So just to give you an example of what I mean by wonder, let's just do a little simple exercise, a little kind of a game of the imagination. I want you to imagine that you've heard of this new VR headset, a new virtual reality headset that's just come on the market. And you've managed to get your hands on one. And you've just switched it on. And what you're seeing in this virtual reality headset is your current environment. Wouldn't you be absolutely amazed by the detail? Just look around your environment now. Wouldn't you be amazed if this was a VR creation? Wouldn't you be going around and touching things and going, wow, this looks so amazing. This looks so real. Look at the detail. And wouldn't you even be more impressed when you went outside and saw that the whole kind of environment around the outside environment has all been recreated in such exquisite detail? This is what I mean by wonder. And it's something that we don't need a VR headset to experience. That when we actually start to appreciate our environment, this is something I talked about in I think it was the third episode, that when we start to appreciate our environment, the wonder is automatically there. So in the last episode, I discussed stillness. And I explained how this stillness is this incredible resource to have in our life. But I also mentioned that the goal, at least not for me anyway, isn't to disappear into that stillness. It's to live life from that stillness. And when we do that, this wonder starts to truly open up. You know, I find it absolutely incredible how we as humans aren't going around going wow all the time. It's like one day we woke up and this whole reality was here. And somehow we've managed to just take it for granted. But the fact that we are experiencing anything at all, I think is mind-bogglingly amazing, incredible. And yet we seem to have become numb to it. And that's because rather than being focused on what's here, we're lost in these stories in our head. And these stories are what make life seem incredibly stale, incredibly unfulfilling. One of the things that I was looking for most of my life was this sense of wonder. Because I could remember feeling it as a child, and I remember how much more fulfilling life seemed back then. I had a serious alcohol problem for many years. And a big factor in that, or at least the initial attraction for me with alcohol, is it did seem to, when I drank, the world seemed a bit more interesting, a bit more wonderful. And I always yearned to be able to experience life once again as I did as a child. And it wasn't about what was going on in my childhood. It was more about the way I related to things as a child. That kind of innocence. And I really missed that. And I always had this sense that I needed to somehow get that back. And what wonder is the ability to get that back. Because the world that we experience, say as children, is no different than the world that we experience today. The only difference is how we relate to it. And that's changed because now we're all full of these ideas about what life is about, you know, what we want to happen, what should have happened, what shouldn't have happened. That's what takes center stage rather than what's here. I mentioned it in the appreciation podcast, I think, where I was saying that it always amazed me how I would dream of being somewhere. Like I'd have a dream at night time, I say being on a beach. And for some reason I found that a lot more fulfilling than actually going to a beach. And I was always amazed by why it was like that until I realised that what was actually happening is that in the dream beach I was just on the beach. I didn't have all this baggage with me. I wasn't on the beach thinking what was going to happen next. So these two things, appreciation and wonder, are very much interconnected. And also stillness is absolutely crucial, because what's still when we're experiencing things is all of these judgments and predictions. When that's still, we go back to this sense of wonder, and it's that makes life satisfying. A common thing and this was something I experienced a lot myself, but a common complaint I get from clients is that they feel there's boredom. They feel their life is boring. And this arises, as far as I can see it, the problem with boredom is not life. It's the way we're relating to life. See, what happens is we get into this position where we're dependent on life entertaining us. Kind of like that Nirvana Kurt Cobain song, here we are now, entertain us. But that can never actually work, not long term, for two reasons. One reason is that entertainment depends on novelty. So when something's brand new, yes, it can grab our attention, but of course that newness eventually wears off. And that entertainment also depends on things being the way we want them to be. And that's never going to last either, because we live in a changing universe. So, depending on life to entertain us just will never work. It's just not possible. It can only ever work in small doses. But when we learn to relate to life without our expectations, without our demands, without our baggage, well then absolutely, the wonder is just there waiting for us. It's not something that needs to have been lost. And in fact, I'll often say that this wonder is similar to how we experience life as a child, but in fact, it's actually far superior to that. Because you don't really appreciate something until you've lost it. And when you've lost it and that wonder comes back into your life, then it's like, wow. And it's not something that we need to earn. It's not something that... It's the nature of things. This is an incredible experience. If you walk out today and look up and there's a big yellow sun in the sky, isn't that absolutely mind-bogglingly amazing? We just walk around going, yeah. We don't even notice, how incredible everything is. And it's this that makes our life fulfilling. It's this that helps give our life purpose and meaning. Like a huge part of the meaning of life is just to go, wow, isn't this incredible? One of the real barriers to wonder is all the stuff we think we know about life and about ourselves and about other people. So for wonder to arise, we have to be willing and able to put that aside. We need to return to a state of innocence, if only for a short while, so we can experience this again. And the more we do it, the more we will want to do it. One of the things I do with clients in groups is to take them outside here in Thailand and to just practice looking at the environment from this place of stillness. And there's certain things that can help with that. At the beginning of the podcast, we did that exercise where we just imagined that this is a virtual reality. Or what I tend to do, or I've done in the past with people, is suggest, see it as a dream. And this is something we'll go into in later episodes, because seeing life as a dream is actually a very skillful thing to do. It's a very skillful perception that opens many doors. But you see, right away, if you start seeing this as a dream, it changes everything. It makes it so much easier to feel that sense of wonder. And the environment hasn't changed. All that's changed is the way that we're relating to it. And to practice, to spend time. Now, ultimately, the wonder I'm talking about isn't a practice. It's something that comes. through the stillness and through the appreciation. It's something that kind of changes in our way of relating to life. It doesn't require effort. But in the meantime, just experiencing moments of wonder can be incredibly nurturing. And it's vital if you struggle with things like boredom or lack of meaning. Just doing this can have a powerful impact and can be such a great asset. But ultimately, it's not something that we need to do forever, because the wonder is already there. This is already incredible. Life is already mind-blowingly amazing. So that's wonder. So if you're enjoying this podcast, please consider subscribing or leaving a review. If you're interested in doing some coaching with me, you'll find a link in the show notes, in the description. Or you can just visit my website, paulgarrigan.com.